Welcome to Kill Team Casuals, a podcast all about Kill Team filmed in 3 different time zones by 3 different gents. Enjoy.
Welcome to the Kill Team Casuals.
Well, we're on.
We've got audio issues early. Russ can't hear me, but I can hear him, and I think the chat can hear me. But we're here, so let's see what we can do with this as it goes on.
Getting worse.
We've got a hype train early. Okay, this is happening. We've got Deep Fatty has subscribed. Thank you, legendary Deep Fatty. Papa Kraken has subscribed as well. Wow, this is it's all kicking off early. We're already level 1. Now confirming chat, can you hear me? Let's work out if we're tech checking Russ or me. So you guys type and say, yes, I can hear. It's going to be awkward otherwise.
Otherwise, I'm going to have to just wait for your lips to stop moving and then try and guess what you've asked me and then answer that question.
They can hear you.
So you think my headphones. So what I'm going to do is, if I lose you at any point, I am going to, in my mind, ask myself a question that I feel like you may have asked me, and then just respond to that question instead.
Checks out.
That's what I'm going to do, I think. Maybe the chat can ask me a question.
It's like translators. It's like having a translator.
Reese asked you this, and I'll be like, sure, of course he did. And I'll just take it for read. Just be like, that's definitely what he asked me.
What could possibly go wrong? Well, thank you to our tech check experts to chat early. Samoan Matt, Lapscallion, Deep Fatty, Richard Warrior Princess, Dr. Zero Hour, Land of KTFL. Loving to see all of our regular chap and chapettes joining us in the chat there. So thank you so much. If you're listening to the pod, we record live, so feel free to join us on Twitch at the Casual Wargamers. Now, you might have noticed there's 2 of us again, but it's a different 2. We have a 1 in, 1 out policy that we strictly enforce here at the Kill Team Casuals. But we're welcoming back this week. It's the lovely Russ from GFN Gaming.
Oh, he's back. He's returned from his holidays. Nowhere sunny because there's nowhere sunny in England. And I stayed. Well, I didn't actually. I stayed in the UK. But thanking you. Back over to Reese at Threestwound.
We worked out it was northeast London you went to, wasn't it?
Scotland, yeah, the northeast of London in Scotland. It was lovely.
Beautiful.
Edinburgh, that classic borough of London. Edinburgh.
Check the maps, people. It's legit.
Check the
okay.
Maps.
Now, Russ, obviously you chose a heck of a time to go away because we had big things happen last week.
Whoa.
Let's say, if anything, the biggest thing to happen since the start of the edition, because not much had felt like it had happened for a little bit. We'd been in a bit of a lull.
Yeah.
Elites were dominating and killing.
Everyone was waiting. It feels like everyone was waiting for this. Dare I say it, Kill Team was dead. You know, our original episode of Kill Team Casuals is Kill Team dead, which is what a way to start a show.
It felt ever,
yeah. Wasn't it just? But it felt like because elites were in such a strong place, there was just teams that had rules that were just breaking other teams, and it was just like style play, and you were just like, kind of, what is the point? I know who's going to win this game. Like, it was just like, it was rough, and it did feel, if you know, player skill notwithstanding, it was basically, it was already written. It was a foregone conclusion. So everyone was waiting for this data slate, like everyone. To be like, what? The game will not be the game until we've had this data slate. And now we've had it.
A lot of people thought it would be before LVO as well. The timing was a bit surprising as well. Yeah.
It was nice because I feel like, I don't know if this is just rumor, but they were like, pick your teams and like, you know, maybe there'll be a data slate. So, you know, pick your team now, lock it in. And then they were like, people chose teams thinking, well, I won't take Legionnaires because I won't take Legionnaires just in case they get nerfed. And then they were like, no, it's not happening now. But yeah.
Bit of uncertainty. I like that. I like that in the mix.
A little bit of cake. Little scatter die in there. Like, scatter die danger. I love it. More scatter dice, please. That's what I want. I still want them to bring it back.
Did you get to see any of the results from things like LVO and how people went and who was still at the top tables at the end, or am I putting you on the spot saying that when you were in holiday mode?
I heard. Well, I got sent Reddit posts about people saying like this is this is atrocious play. Like people are scumbag moving. That's all I saw from LVO. I didn't see anything else apart from the drama. So I got like there was Reddit posts of people like gotcha moments, but I don't know who won at all. So I don't know anything. Who won? Do you know who won?
Yes, Sammy, a guy called Sammy from I believe Canada land, and he won with Warp Coven.
Canada, that's like the North state of America, right?
That's the one.
I mean,
50s,
Ben's not here to clarify. Yeah, one of them. The 16th. So what? He won with what? Sorry, what did you say?
Warp Coven. So no surprise. Yes.
Hell surprise.
Oh no, wait. Cadia Fight Club. Sorry, is he not Canadian? Papa Cracker's just corrected me.
They're in California.
California. That's the same thing, isn't it?
Cascadia. Oh, well, there you go.
I don't know.
Well,
I'm so sorry. This is
Warp
why we're on the
won
casual.
It,
the Warp Coven won it. Sammy from there.
Which is one of the teams that you should anticipate winning an event. Yeah. They were a team that has been hit with a lot of nerfs, which it feels justified. Like I did see a lot of the elite nerfs, and I do feel like the elite nerfs have buffed a whole load of teams. Like if you had a team that didn't have any updates, like there's a couple out there, like Star Strider's got like one, Void Dancer's got like a clarification on a range, Commando's got nothing, Pathfinder's got nothing. I feel bad about Pathfinders, they should have got something. But like there's a few teams that got nothing, but like the nerfs to elites were for you. So I feel like everyone got something, the fact that the elites got, and not even bad. Like I feel like Legionaries now are in a place where I'd not taken them to my local shop in the new edition. I've taken them to a tournament because I'm an absolute douchebag. Like one tournament, I was like, I'll take them to one. But I've not taken them since because it's not a fun team to be play into. Like even at my level, I'm not playing it. Like I'm not a top player. Even then, it's not fun to play someone if you're not got Legionaries. But I think now, great. Yeah. There's like a couple of teams who got, I think nothing, but there's only like a few teams that got absolutely nothing.
Yeah, and it was I didn't mind that too. Like I think it was sort of mentioned it to Ben. Like I didn't mind a little bit of restraint too. That there's some teams that maybe didn't need something. It just needed to be there. Number one predators needed to be brought down a notch. You know, there was.
I think that's it.
Yeah, it's not just always.
I actually think it's
buff these guys. Just make their auto losers not as powerful.
I think a lot of teams. I like that it's not being heavy-handed, and because obviously the when there's such an outcry, and I think there has been an outcry for elites of ruining the game. That's been quite constant. Like it must be quite not daunting because but like it's your job. But there must be a lot of people being like, and you must hear it, and like rules writers must hear elites are ruining the game, and they can be such an impetus to like nerf them heavy, like really heavy-handed nerf them just to quell those voices. But then you potentially, but then you imbalance the game even more so. So I do like that most of the nerfs or the buffs came in the form of. It didn't even seem too heavy-handed. Like the nerfs on some of the teams, like the elites teams, I checked in on like the Plague, Legionaries, and Warp Coven. It seemed it was nice. It was like you can't just get rid of piercing; it becomes piercing crit. Which as a Vespid player was a salve to my wounds. I was like, that's what I needed. Basically, I needed that one. But like a couple of other things were like just stuff that you knew was going to happen. That you can't keep healing because that was the big thing. You've got 6 models and they just don't die, especially if you're Plague Marines. That guy's just going to be like 7 wounds, 6 wounds, 5 wounds. That's in one turn. And you're like, so stuff like that has been reined a lot back. So I think they are killable, and I'm keen to see how they play now, how the meta will shift. Because some people will drop those teams now, which will unnaturally, unnaturally shift the meta in of itself. Yeah. But some people will continue playing them because they always love those teams. I went for Legionaries a lot because I just loved that team. Then I stopped playing them when they were too good. But I might jump back on now, and then that'll be quite nice. I'd love to see how they play now. That'd be
Yeah,
good.
well, Ben was saying a similar thing. He's like, for him, the good thing is the nerfs didn't make him go, well, these teams are now unplayable, or these teams are now not worth looking at. And often that's it. You know, we look at the upper echelon of players and stats, and we go, well, this team's winning. But you also forget in that world too, they're in the hands of some of the best players of the game. It's also very different when you're playing at your mid-table, lower table amongst friends. You're going to have a pretty different experience playing them as well.
Yeah.
You know, like I think that the teams that are really broken is when that's felt across that full range of the bottom table to the top table. Everyone agrees that this is oppressive or this is awful. Because, you know, sometimes a team can feel broken, but only in the hands of a super talented player who knows how to, you know, get off the exploits. It was interesting. Lapwood just saying in the chat that the things that got hit hard were teams with healing and AP negation that was too strong. So obviously our Legionaries, but also the Necrons got hit pretty hard as well with their healings and ways to mess with that as well.
Yeah, I think it's good. I mean, I've always said it, and I know it's bad because you can't run a game this way, but I hate rules that take something away from your other player. I love a rule that just it makes your operatives better, but like without taking something from your opponent, like the AP negation, which was the only thing Vespids have to be like, no, I'm going to take that away. Like I would have minded it less if they were like, you get one more defense dice. You know what I mean? Like that would have somehow made it better. I don't know why. It'd be exactly the same result. Like, you know what I mean? But like, I don't know. I just don't like the taking away. So I like that that's still, they've got rid of that and they've made it so, I mean, playing against Warp Coven was just futile because they've got AP negation and they're healing, and you're just like, so all the damage I pumped into him is he's fine.
Yeah.
Yes, he's just fine.
Yeah. And the blistering return fires and abilities as well.
Yeah,
it's also not just one. It's not just they can take 1 million hits, and then they also deal out 1 million. So
and they've got P themselves. It's not like they're just negated. like so you can take it, but you keep it as well. You absolute sly bastard.
It's like absorbing it and then firing the bullets back. You know, like
that was not fun. Yeah, it's not fun playing Warp Coven. But Sandy's in the chat, baby.
Oh, welcome, Sandy. Welcome. So speaking of, we did touch on it as the world's premier Vespid player.
Officially. No,
it's
actually, I don't know if it might be the new season now. It was global #1, but I don't know if we're a new season now. There must be some other fool running Vespids other than me.
If you've slipped down the list, people take with a grain of salt. Maybe don't listen to Russ. Maybe he doesn't know what he's talking about. But what did you think of the changes? We obviously had the change to the communion rule, which means it rolls over, which is really nice now. So not losing those points.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be one. So there was a few things that I wanted and a few things I thought we'd get. The communion not going over, I thought we'd get that. I'm so glad we did because it opens up the other tac ops, because when you're playing as Vespids, you only have a max of 4 communion points if you roll hot. Like if you roll hot and you've got a drone, you're going to get maybe 4 if you get like a single 5 out of 2d6 or a single 6. And then you've got a couple of things to give you freebies like equipment and your leader, but effectively that's all you get in every turn if you've rolled hot. And it's a team that you need to have rolled hot to be doing well with anyway. But let's say you have anyway, you're going to have to need, like you've got a crit op that is going to be needing mission actions. And if you don't take... Yeah, if you don't take confirm kill, which they've got access to Seek and Destroy and Recon. Seek and Destroy is pretty bad, and Recon is really good. I mean, broad strokes. I think we're going to be talking about tac ops, but
we might have a bit of a look later on. Yeah, for Vespids, you're taking Recon, and most of the time you were taking confirm kill just because you were going to have to kill anyway, and if you took
The other one, which people used to take, plant beacons, which I've taken a few times to like when you realize that you're not going to be able to kill anyone like a warp curve, and you're like, look, there's no point trying to get the kill up. I'm not going to shoot them. I just need to just focus on plant the beacons, and maybe they'll mess up so bad that I'll win somehow. Like that's the only other one you take.
That's how I play. That's how I play. I just hope they're worse than me.
I just hope
aspects of the game.
They've been drinking the night before and they fall over somehow. It blind themselves with dice, and we'll just call it a draw. Not even a win at that point. I'll just be like, draw, please.
I'll settle.
As they're lying on the floor, draw. But yeah, so I think the fact that they don't roll over, which means you can play it pretty conservatively now. Because what I used to do is you'd go quite aggressive turn one, especially on the map dependent. You would try and get the Sky Blast to blow a little area up, maybe do some chip damage, try and kill someone, so you'd have a confirmed kill token in the backfield. Best case scenario, you can get a blast kill couple if you're playing Octarius and have two, and that would be the aim of your drone, is to get your drone to there like turn 3 and guaranteed 2. But now you can be like, well, I'll save my 3 or 4, then I'll have maybe 8 turning point 2, and I can do 4 long range shots, 2 like a mission action and 2 tack up mission actions as well, and then maybe another. Like there's so much more options. So that plant beacons for a team that can fly is actually pretty good. Like the only real weakness of it previously was the fact that that you didn't have enough communion points to do both that and the kill. So you basically abandon the kill up. So if you were playing plant beacons, you would have to also play the denial game. So you'd have to plant your beacons while also denying their tac ops, and just hope that they had picked tac op as their primary op, and then you can maybe swing a victory. But it was like, and then by the time you're in turning point 3 and 4, you were close enough to get shooting off without needing communion points anyway. But so communion points I thought we'd get, and that's been it's such a small tweak. Like it doesn't really mean much, but I think it's a world of difference.
And I guess it also means first turn in a lot of ways, you're banking whatever you get in that first turn, aren't you? That's probably the other thing to think too, because realistically, that first turn, you're not really doing your mission actions in too many ways, because it's all about setting. So if you get 2, 3, 4 in that first turn, that's great. All of a sudden, your turn 2, straight away, you're not worried about, I rolled poorly, I've only got one or two to play with. Like straight away, you're in a spot where you're like, okay, I can play the game. We talked about it a little bit in the green room. It's that thing sometimes where I really like this mechanic for the Vespids. It's interesting, but it doesn't feel like there's a risk reward element, because no other team has the same issues, has to make those same decision points. And there's no positive for you about having those tough decisions to make beyond what other teams are like, I didn't have to think about that. Of course I can, do the mission action, pick up this token, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But the other one, at least now, you also don't have to worry about operating hatchways.
Yeah, opening doors is no longer cost. So that used to be like... they are bad. They're not bad into the dark, but they're certainly not good into the dark. And the fact that you
have to do that hurts.
What you had to tend to do is basically set yourself up opening the doors at the end of turning point 1, and just so that you could do anything. Because otherwise you were like, well, I can't, if I'm opening and moving that door, that dude's done. So maybe you had one door where you're like, I guess I'll open that and be done. But it's not, it's like, so you ended up having to, and they're quite easy to hit. Like, because you can see their wings. So they're
a small, spindly model, but it's not contained. It's all pointy bits.
So that will help with Into the Dark, because it used to be you'd line yourself up and then just spend all your communion points, because there's a real good chance if you didn't do that, you wouldn't have enough communion points turning point 2 to be able to do anything. Which is why it'd be really difficult with your tac ops. You'd just be like, oof, I guess I'm confirmed kill, because it's the only one that doesn't require me really to do like a mission action that's not seek and destroy, because seek and destroy is rough for them. Yeah, you don't want to. It's hard. It's hard to seek and destroy for the Vespids.
And lastly, the Oversight Drone Operative, its aerial guidance action now is letting that friendly operative add lethal 5-up as well as saturate.
Yeah. So that is such,
what do you think?
You know what? Like there's a lot of things I wanted, and this is not one that I ever thought I would want. But I've said it many times, you can't just roll well with Vespids, you have to roll sixes. Like the entire team is dependent on you being able to roll sixes quite a lot of the time, which is why you need the balance so you can at least re-roll one. You tend to not take the accurate just because you need the balance is more of a chance to get a six.
Fish.
You need it. And the guy that was the best shooting had lethal 5, and that happened. That made a difference a lot. Where you were just like, I'll take the balanced. Man, I got a 5. Fantastic. That's some mortal wounds at least. So yeah, I think that I've not played around with it yet, but I think because honestly, the drone ended up only being used to take those confirmed kill tokens. Yes. Whereas now, I used to set them up and be like, okay, saturate, but on its own, saturate was not necessarily good enough for it to be worthwhile putting a body next to him, because you've got to be within 6 and within visible to both. I can see a good argument for equipment for taking the signal boosting comms thingy and using that with the drone to give him like a 9-inch aura now.
You might be the only problem is taking that. Is that a bit of equipment?
Yeah,
is anyone
maybe maybe the only person. But the only downside is that the drone has to have line of sight to the target as well. But if you can position them well enough, like on one of those, if you can position them on the top of Volkers, obviously that's great because you've got line of sight. But there's a lot of heavy, so it's not great. But at least you got saturate. At least you got lethal 5. And then if the person taking the shot doesn't have an obscured shot, that might be good. And then if you give the comms boost, then the 9-inch will cover quite a lot of that balcony below it. So maybe
make a little bit of a Volker's fortress with your drone at the top and his little comms thing.
But yeah, lethal 5 is great because obviously they need the crits to get their dev 2. So having that hit on 5s now within 6, or again, if you take the comms unit, 9 inches of the drone. Real good. It's real interesting. A team that needs crits, so giving them a more reliable way to get crits. Yeah, I was worried that they would get too many buffs, just because they're not a great team. Yeah, so I mean, part of me wanted it. Part of me was like, give the leader 3 APL or give the drone the ability.
I was like, deep down, you did probably even call it out, but you were like, I'm done this because I know that means we're on the way up, baby. You can't get any lower than the basement. So we're on the way up.
I was just like, I'm building my orc storm boy Vespids. I'm just like, I'm ready for the glove, baby. I'm ready for the glove, big style. But no, I think this is good. I mean, they're better than they were. And with the last tournament I went to, I was into a bunch of elites, but the one that there's only one game that felt futile, and that was the Warp Coven. And I'd like to play that now with the new changes. I'd be like, okay, let's see if Vespids can go toe to toe with the big bad again. But yeah, it'd be interesting.
I think that's it too. I think the big thing with all the balance across it, and that word's key. But yeah, you just want to make sure that every game you feel like you've got a chance. And I definitely think that with previously, that's it. There were some teams where you were just like, this team, short of a miracle, like can't compete. Short of, as you said, the person falling over, dice in their eyes, blah blah, like short of those crazy things happening. And I think that the dataslate's done a good job of just giving little buff ups to the teams without being crazy. So we don't just go, okay, we've just swapped legionaries now for Vespids who are now super powered and have all this stuff, and everyone's like, well, they can fly. They're like crazy shooting Harlequins now, you know, like, and everyone hates them. It's like, no, we're trying to find balance, not about launching a team straight up the ladder.
Although, if they want to launch Vespids, rule.
If there was one team, if there was
one, I feel bad for. Because even I quite like some of the stuff that Crude got, but it just feels weird that Pathfinder's just got nothing. Like I because I don't know anyone
I think
running
they're still
them.
paying for the sins of past.
Everyone said someone said that, and I was just sort of like, you know what? I have been worthy caused, and I'm not. When I remember that, I'm not sympathetic. Maybe that's it.
The only team I played too, I hadn't really ever played them properly, especially I hadn't really played them in the hands of someone who was quite confident. And I remember playing them at a tournament, and that like it was a lesson. For my poor blooded, when they were just shooting up the board, boot, scoot, and move, dash, rail rifles to the face of my close combat operatives. I was like, Yeah, wow. I get it. Yeah, but look, every team has their moment in the sun. I'm sure at some
Yeah.
point
We'll get a
they'll
new
bounce
team.
back. Lap
Well, they're
making
going, aren't they?
Yeah, well, that's what I was about to say. Lap just made an interesting point. And we've also got to keep that in mind with a lot of the teams, like because we were saying veteran guard were like they just or the Kriegsmen, they just got to boost back up, but then they're year one, aren't they? So it's like
Commandos didn't get anything, but they're going. So
yeah, Pathfinders are another team, and there's quite a few others. So you wonder maybe that was quite deliberate that those teams didn't get too many buffs because they know they're riding off into the sunset soon.
I mean, they've got a while. They've got like 8 or 9 months, right? So like this came out in October, November.
Well, they can't all have a goodbye tour, okay? They all can't have a.
Yeah. Do I think Grey Knights will get a team? I think they have to, Sandy. Come on, man. They've got to get a team. I reckon this next box set, whatever it is, whenever it is the first one that I feel like I'm completely in the dark with. And that's not an Into the Dark reference or joke, but like it's usually, by now we've heard a rumor or we've heard an inkling or we're usually the three of us have gone, hey, we've called up James Workshop and said, this is what we want. I feel like we haven't put our order in, and I feel like, it's so I don't even know what the timing is. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like going back and like watching all of the. I don't watch any of the videos.
Ones, yeah,
but Valrak. Like he has loads of leaks, doesn't he? I feel like going back and being like, can I discern? He's like the leak man. Like I don't really.
He's talked Grey Knights and I've heard Demons, that Grey Knights. I think was his common one.
It's out there. It is out there. So I mean, and it's a team that people want. It's it makes a box set nicely. It's hard. You know what? I think the reason why it's not happened is they're maybe having trouble writing a pure demon list into a laws into kill team lore, because I like this. I feel like they're trying to make kill teams make sense. More.
Yeah, they're not just there. They're like, this team's here, and here's why they're in the story. And part of it.
It feels like there needs to be. And I know some of the teams are just being ported into 40k. Like Bok was last edition, so let's not do that one. But like the Vespids arguably are a unit that you can get in 40k. But they were paired with the Aquilons, and it felt like, okay, that makes sense. They're like strike unit, drop troops. That makes sense in the world of kill team. But how do you do that with demons? Like pure demons.
Because it was interesting. There was a bit of a thread with the guard and the Tau that it kind of, not perfectly, but was pretty close to Codex releases as well. That, the guard Codex came not long after, or not long after the drop troops came in, and vice versa for the Tau. So it's like, do you need to look at the roadmap of the codexes to go?
Yeah, maybe
that helps give you hints and clues, because you're like, well, because like Grey Knight's codex is on the way. It's now in the 40k roadmap. So it's still a little bit away, and there's always been lots of talks that they're overdue for a refresh. They're overdue for new models. So is that? I mean, I couldn't see it being Terminators, but potentially like Strike Marines or something like that, like a 6-man.
A strike squad.
Strike squad.
The thing is, the Grey Knights make sense because you've got those strike squad. They've got the teleport backpacks. That's a small unit anyway. They tool around in 40k in 5-man units. They work perfectly. It's the demons I have trouble with. And Lap said maybe Word Bearers once Legionaries rotate out with a summoning theme. Now I like the idea, but I feel like if we're going to get anyone to replace Legionaries, it's going to be some Noise Marines from the new Emperor's Children. How is it? How excited is everyone? How excited are you, Reese, for Emperor's Children? Come on.
If you don't like those models, I'm no doctor, but you should go see a real doctor, because they are very.
You should be euthanized if you don't like those.
Wow. I was suggesting, but you
kill
said
yourself. That's what they are. But yeah, they're cool models.
They're amazing models, and I mean, I think if they don't do something kill team related with them, the good news is I think you could definitely kit bash and fit them in super easy, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, the back to the demons quickly. They're apparently the rumor heading forward though is that in 40k they're also not getting a standalone codex like in the past. It's been demon codexes. They're going to be rolled in with like. If it's Emperor's Children, the Slaneshi side of it will be rolled in.
Yeah.
World Eaters will have the corn stuff. So I think that's going to be really interesting if they do that. Is, as you said too, does that help the case for making them a kill team or hinder it? I don't know. Like,
I would love to see a demon refresh. And I know you can't really mess with their stuff because they are, like the problem with Chaos and demons is like they always have been and will always have been like a bloodletter is a bloodletter, and that is what you get in Khorne. You can't really have new because if you have new, you've always had new. Although I guess with the whole argument with Slanesh is he was born during that weird Eldar thing, but he was born into time. So he was born, but then was forever around.
Yes, it's an interesting. I've always been here. I've always been here. I am eternal.
So
baby.
So I wouldn't. So I don't know. I think it's a big ask to be like lore writers. I want some new, new units. Like I might to be like I want some. I've had enough of sexy crab ladies. And for one, who's saying that? Who's saying that? But whatever. They were like, I like the sexy crab ladies. What I would like to see is a couple of butter boys behind them with some sticks on. But yeah, I don't know.
We
like
need to
some
get
new
Beans
units.
onto modeling that. Some butter boys with
some butter boys doing. But yeah, I don't know how. Yeah, it seems like. I mean, and again, we could have a couple of drinks and spitball why a demon incursion might happen on a small scale. But it would have to be well,
it makes me think of the cultists, like what's already happened, like the Chaos cultists, small group, and they're getting possessed and taken over. Like we've kind of seen that. Do we need would we want another Chaos cultist team, like a variation? Well, not really, because we've got that, haven't we? We've got those cultists turning into demons. Here's one we prepared earlier. So it's like I
was going to say Chaos cult is kind of wet, but that's the only thing I think it was kind of like the patriarch where you've got a demon that is like but then demons don't tend to, do they? Maybe they do. Do demons go rogue? Because what I'd love to see are rogue demons, which is just like, so this is some weird ancient Khornite demon that's just gone a little bit mad, and then he's started his own little church, and he started making, you know what I mean? He started handing out wafers. But I don't know that they do that. I feel like they're all. Actually, I don't know. It's not like the Tyranids, is it?
No. I don't think they're like a one, big, collective hive mind
entity. Yeah, they're not a hive mind, are they?
They are. They kind of are. They're all trying to do their own thing. They're all just trying to get in reality. I've always loved demon hosts, like in the
that would be a great way to do it.
Having like a thing that a trapped demon host, maybe that is spilling out warp energy, which is summoning new demons. That could work.
Do you remember the mission they did for last edition, The Prisoner? And it was like a weird warp. It was like that big balloon-headed guy, and he was on chains, and he floated around. And I'm sure he summoned. It was purely narrative, and he just like summoned operatives. I'd love that. But that as a demon host, and he's just like this unstable warp entity, and he's like, I summon a bloodletter. Pink horrors.
It's cool. And they can, and you can change operatives throughout. They're like, I'm now going to turn that Khorne operative into like the blue horror, so it can shoot fire because now the operatives are fire. Like that would, I mean, again, we're definitely they're not going to give us that many models, or they're going to make us buy that many models.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'd love a Zinch team. I'd love like they just decide to give us a new type of horror. They're like, you know what, this is a purple horror. And it can't be purple. It had to be something. It can't be a green horror because that would be an orc. But like a yellow horror, puce. And it's just like a slightly different a puce horror. And he just turns up and he's just like,
that would be a pretty cool thing, wouldn't it? Like shoot an enemy and they split. Like you kill an enemy. Like it's nearly like a different version of Frenzy. It's like you go from having one operative, they get shot, they die, they split into two weaker ones.
I don't think that would be terrible because that used to be a strat ploy, didn't it? In the old edition, you used to be able to run attack ploy and split when you died, but just to have that naturally, I wouldn't mind that.
Like that's your team rule. Like, unstoppable horrors or whatever. Yeah,
it's not that much worse than Frenzy, but maybe they just come back with like 4 or 5 wounds. Like a blue horror has 5 wounds.
It's nearly like they turn into glitchlings or something like that, or rattlings, or rattlings with a 6-up save and 2 health. Yeah.
I wouldn't mind that. But yeah, I think it's a rough one to be able to write why that's happening. Because the thing is, though, I never read the narratives in the books.
Neither do I.
I know, yeah, but I feel like there's a lot of work that goes into that.
Yeah,
and I think
which is weird because I'm a lore hound outside of it. Like I read so much Black Library stuff, but for some reason, maybe it's because I've now in the newer stuff, I'm so excited for the rules, and I know that that's what I'm going to be talking about. Very rarely do we go lore deep dives. As much as I'd love to, we just we
should bring back some lore. We should bring back Ben's Boot Club.
Yes, just to play the theme song.
just to get some more lore because I've still not read a lot of 40k. I'm trying, Reese.
No. Well, look, we know from Ben's Book Club how hard it was to get you to read any books. So, let alone Ben, who book club it was and would usually select the books.
Would frequently fail. And you'd be like, we can't talk about the last 15 chapters. But Ben, the book is only 14 chapters. It's like, is it?
Yeah.
Good.
Checks out.
Yeah. No, I think the Vespid changes are great. New teams, leaks. Yeah, I quite like not knowing in a weird way. Yes. I quite like just it'll turn up and it'll be what it'll be. Sometimes I miss that. I miss just not knowing because we knew about but then they do it themselves. Like they'll be like, here are the new teams. And it's like, almost wouldn't want to know. I'm one of those weird people. I don't get excited before Christmas. Waiting for Christmas. I don't get excited. I'm excited on the day, sure. But so seeing stuff that I can't get doesn't excite me. I'm just like, oh, it's pretty cool. That's about it.
Now I'm going to wait.
I'm just now I'm going to have to wait. No.
Yeah,
I guess
I'm terrible. I hate surprises, so I think maybe I'm the opposite. I'm like, no, just
somewhere in between.
I don't care if it's 6 months away. Just tell me because not knowing is driving my mind wild. Like I'm guessing, and I'm like, ooh, like what's it going to be?
During we'll get new terrain. I don't think we will this early.
Yeah, well, I mean,
because we've only had 2 sets.
Yeah, well, this is going to be, I think, like last time, it'll be like it, and like the additional bits of terrain where it's like you get like last time it was like it could add fortress bits, which is weird because ITD did that, and obviously like each one brought out a new upgrade sprue as well as a whole new thing, but forget that bit. But and then this edition just kind of went. So don't worry about that. You just need the set that you like the primary terrain and all those extra bits and pieces just went away. And I'm like, well, what was the point then?
I mean, to be fair, I've not used them, but I kind of feel like what Vulcus doesn't need is more heavy. Vulcus has a lot of heavy. It's rough for teams that I don't mind it for playing it. It's fine. It's a different type of play. But when I went to a tournament, they're still running some maps on Octarius, Nakmund, and Morok and Chalnath. They still run them in official GDubs tournaments. So going from Vulcus to that, I think it's a real system shock for people if they're not aware of it. I got alpha strikes off every game I was playing on a board that had light, and I think people forget that it only doesn't exist in this edition because of Vulcus. Yes, because it's so hard to get a shot off because everything's heavy. That's the only reason we don't have alpha strikes. So I think it'd be interesting to see if they want to lean back into that now and maybe they release some light terrain and just say, look, you can replace some of their heavy terrain with this. But I don't mind it. I don't mind not having alpha strikes. It still feels a bit shocking for teams that have access to it. I think it's good.
Yeah, I think anything that means that you are minimizing or limiting that. I love at the moment that turn 1, is a really quite a weirdly tense setup phase, getting your operatives in there, not making those mistakes. Like, yes, some people will probably be like, oh, I miss shooting or seeing any action in that first turn. But I'm like, but again, it kind of makes me, I think it feels a bit more like that tac ops, sneaking up into position, waiting before it all goes loud, before it's kind of what like they nearly tried to do it with Sentries, yeah, like they were close,
It does feel like that. It's that like you've maybe seen like a shadow pass, and you're like, okay, everyone move forward quietly, and then turning point 2, you actually see the force, and that's when you're like, okay. But yeah, I like that.
Me of those Vietnam War films, and you see them, and they're in the jungle, and you can just see their eyes, and they're all like,
in the bushes,
and they can hear the leaves, crinkling in front of them. They're all like, be quiet, wait, like, oh, that tension is huge. Yeah. I really like that tension point in the current kill team. This is a bit of a random question, but what do you think about, instead of terrain, adding like a bit like Beta Decima, sorry, phone's blowing up, adding like Beta Decima, like no-go zones I can't walk through. You know how Beta Decima obviously had those areas around the base of it where your models couldn't walk or shoot over.
Yeah, I don't like that idea.
Yeah.
It depends how they do it. I mean, I guess it quote unquote works for Beta Decima, but I don't really like Beta Decima that much either. And I say that as a Vespid player. It just limits the amount of equipment you can take. You don't have as much freedom with equipment because you basically have to take heavy barricades and light barricades unless you're willing to get shot. It's kind of odd. It's an odd one. I think what I'd like, instead of them trying to introduce new, unless they do it the correct way, and the only correct way, sad to say, it's not. I feel bad for saying this because we're on Kill Team Casuals, but it feels like the only way to make terrain stick is if it's part of the competitive meta, and if it comes out and they put it in a map pack that's fair. It's just, I only say that because it feels like they've abandoned narrative in this edition, and last edition they didn't. They had a plan for narrative. If this edition they are just saying middle finger to narrative, then if they want to introduce new terrain, I feel like it should come with a map pack that is balanced. Otherwise it's not going to get played in tournaments, and therefore people won't play it locally preparing for tournaments because it's not fair. Because I still think a balanced map is the best way to learn the game.
Yeah,
even if it's not as fun. So just playing on a narrative map is great fun. Like, hey, if you want to build up a narrative map that's amazing fun, looks awesome to play casually, that's awesome. But to like teach a game and to have a proper game, a quote unquote, like a let's see how we're getting with teams, you kind of need a fair-ish map pack. I would, if they're not going to do that, I would almost prefer them to, and I know it's bad because I don't want more cards, but I would almost prefer them to have a think about like increasing universal terrain, universal equipment, and just say, look, we're not going to provide any new terrain, but we are going to have 5 new universal equipment that everyone can have, and it's like a boardwalk that goes between 2 buildings. And it's accessible, but you can walk across, that kind of stuff. So you didn't have to jump. It's random. I mean, these are bad. I'm just thinking of the top of my head. But,
you're spitballing here. We're putting you on the spot. We're throwing ideas out here, and I like it. We're thinking uniquely and laterally.
Yeah, different types of grenades. Any kind of thing. Like stuff like that. I would be like, just because then that will make its way into competitive play, and then it will be part of the balance. Whereas the terrain will never be balanced just because it's lap scallion, taking ladders. You know what? Yeah, people do take ladders, but I forget that as a Vespid player because I so infrequently just never take ladders.
What's a ladder?
But yeah, I mean, I play Plague Marines as well, and you have to take and every map you're taking ladders just because, man alive, they're slow. They're slow boys.
I think there's a really interesting point you brought up there about like that narrative feeding the competitive scene and why that maybe they cut back, because I still definitely remember last edition a lot of the time we'd just do random missions, and obviously you had the match play ones, but in the books and stuff you just kind of had the ones that were like fun narrative things, and they were usually using the whatever was in the box set that was new, like ITD, there's the sentry turrets or there's whatever. But it was amazing how often you'd play that and you would be like, oh, this is actually not great for your team. You know, like, I'm going to really struggle with this type of mission. So I don't miss that.
No.
They've tightened that up a little bit in this new one does feel a lot more symmetrical. Everything is a bit more in the idea of which deployment do you want? Doesn't matter too much. Like, even if I get that one, it's not the end of the world, you know, the slightly worse one.
There's not like I want, There were a couple of games. I do feel like it's a tighter game in it like all around. But part of that, obviously, they have presumably put more resources towards making it that way as opposed to developing the narrative, which, to be fair, can be done by players in the community. Community players can just be like, well, it's narrative. It doesn't have to be balanced. Let's just do it ourselves. Just like if the whole purpose is to tell a story, let's just have fun and do whatever and let them focus on making a competitive game. I kind of, it was an odd because it was so heavily done for the last edition, but they've given us some blueprints, but the blueprints are mainly for solo play. But obviously it does give you the option to kind of say, hey, do we want to run a sort of like a dungeon crawling hero quest version of Kill Team? Sure, you can do it. And they've done a couple of narrative missions to kind of play into that, and you could do it that way. I mean, that's not a bad way to do it. Now I'm saying out loud, a little hero quest Kill Team adventure does sound pretty good.
That would be pretty cool.
You could do it.
It's like when the Inquisitor box and the Chaos box came out, and that was nearly the polar opposite. That was this box set out of nowhere that was like,
it felt like it did come out of nowhere as well.
This is purely narrative, nearly. It felt like it's like it's this whole self-contained story and these very specific cards and bits and pieces that are to take your thing. But it was like, it nearly felt like that was nearly meant to be like a Blackstone Fortress or a Cursed City. Like, it was nearly like, well, actually, it's a board game that's happened to have two teams you can also play in Kill Team, but it got lost in that no man's land of, there wasn't much hype for it. There wasn't like, I don't know. It just felt like as you said, it just felt it came out of nowhere, was random. The teams are great. I'm glad the teams have survived and they've moved on, but all that extra stuff you've got in the box set, I think all of mine's still in the plastic. I don't think I've unwrapped or taken any of it out of there.
A couple of mates tried to play it, but it was, it does feel like it was a lot of work that was done, and then I don't feel like it got pushed that hard. Like, I don't remember it. Like, it came hot on the heels of the squats. I think the Halfkin, like within weeks, it felt like it must have been like a month. It was also announced. I think it was announced before the first one came out.
Yeah,
so we had two boxes announced, and then it was
it was super weird.
We haven't even got that first box. Yeah,
it was an odd
one.
I don't mind that. Like, I do, because there obviously is still quite a large portion of the Kill Team community who plays casually or narratively with friends and that. And I still think it's definitely a huge benefit to that. Like, I do love that idea of, like Warhammer in general, for me, is about imagination, and it's getting lost in that universe. And sometimes the competitive or the cutting edge of that can take it out of it. It just becomes well-painted chess. If you take out too much of the fluff,
Yeah.
But there's some fantastic chess pieces.
I think there'd be a decent call if they wanted to, and they could just use like a free PDF. Because I think, something just happened. I don't know. I had a weird sound in my head. I'm not going mad. It was the headset. Did something weird. Was it turned off?
It's just me. I'm messing.
It went boom, boom. I'm not hearing the voices again. Kill everyone. Kill everyone. Can you hear them? Kill everyone. But no, they could bring out like a PDF that just says, look, if you want to run a narrative game, here's a decent format to how you would do it. 4 players, 5 players, 6 players, it'd just be like, have a running narrative, but that can be anything you want, but then just have some, like a couple of guidelines. That wouldn't be like, because I know you could get that stuff online and it's not too hard to do, but I think some people might be like, if this is the first game they pick up and they're thinking it's a Necromunda style game, or maybe want Necromunda Light, which it kind of, because Necromunda is quite full on, and it's great. Yeah. It's great, and hell, if you want a 40k narrative experience, go for it. But if you don't want to play Hive Scum, which is fair, because some people want to have that narrative experience with their Space Wolves, then yeah, like a PDF would be like, and like just ideas on how to run your first narrative campaign with the new kill team might be something people would like. But I'm sure the community's got it out there.
I'm pretty sure they brought out with this latest balanced data slate as well, like a download.
Have they already
section.
done this?
No, close, no. But like a guide and a tips thing for like TOs. Like it was.
That's good.
And obviously, I haven't read it because it's not up my alley. But it's like I think there's a whole section there to help you run these events, setups, things and all that. And and there's definitely no reason why, especially with the way rules are delivered now, that they couldn't be like, hey, we've just added a narrative campaign that you can play with your friends. It's a free download Warhammer community, and it uses the 2 new teams, or you can use any teams. And within that pack, there's, I used to love those ones where it would have like, you'd have like a city map with sections.
Yeah, I love the
like
map
this
ones.
team starts.
That's what you need. You need the map.
You start here, and you start here, and then you
hexes.
Take territories. Yes, yeah.
The best one was a 3D hex. You like get in.
That's exactly. And like that's it. That all of a sudden you play that campaign, but you still, and like it might have narrative thing, but you still maybe potentially can use the match play rules if that makes sense. So the games are still balanced, but they have an overarching narrative element where you still upgrade your guys in between games, blah blah blah. You do all that stuff, but the game.
Should we do it?
Maybe we need to. Maybe that's what needs to
Maybe
happen.
we should do it. I feel like I would love to do like a generic setting, and then we'll brainstorm. I mean, it's probably already out there, to be fair. We probably don't need to do it, but it would be cool. Just like if we make some generic hex maps.
Yeah, that would be. I mean, because I'm like I
casual map pack.
The casual map pack. Yeah, exactly. Like it's because I agree that a lot of the time, sometimes what can happen with narrative themed games is they add a great story in the game, but then sometimes they do feel unbalanced or unfair for one team. And you go, okay, well, you've either got to, I guess, be able to get your head around what's part of a story. So that's okay. But maybe I think that's to win this one.
That's the thing, because some of the best story narrative games is you are defending an undefendable position. You should die. How long can you last? Like, you should only last 1 turn. But if you're great, maybe you'll last 2 turns. But you've got to be okay with that being the outcome.
Yes.
And I like, as a player, I love those out where it's just like the defiant last stand, and you just like plant the flag, and it's just like, and it's all like slow motion stuff. But like for there to be a narrative reward for the player, did you last 1 turn? Did you last 2 turns? You level up based on that. Would be cool. I like that idea. I love a non-defendable, like a straight. I always think of Alien versus Predator, the PC game, where you used to have to race. Was that whatever that mission was? I think it was called Stranded. You have to race to that bunker in the middle, and then there was like aliens tearing, and you were just like, you were either a marine or a predator, and you'd race to the center, and then it would be like 14 smart guns, just like.
And they're all
aliens,
just endless waves.
That was naughties, prime naughties. That was.
Lucky Ben's not here. He would have been like, "What's an alien versus a predator?"
Yeah, god damn, that handsome man, but he is so young,
so youthful, so full of hope,
so youthful.
It's disgusting.
Before the world is yet to crush it out of him, but we can wait. We can wait.
We'll wear him down. Time will wear him down.
We can wait it out, yeah.
There you go. Lap was saying too, like in like AOS has started to do some stuff. Through Warcry. White Dwarf, like map based stuff where you pick your base and
that's cool.
Extra bits of thing as you play through, and I'm like, it's. Especially like I can see it working really well. Like in my group setting, we tried very early on to do the full narrative, and I wasn't enjoying it as much because there was just a bit too much. It was hard to get guys when we were only say catching up once a month to then also remember excess rules on top of already remembering rules. That was the pain point.
I think there needs to be a way of doing it so you don't, like, the mental tax needs to be less. I like the idea of the base, but I think Yeah, I think I don't know how Warcry does it, but the way Lap's describing it in my head, I've now imagined it is just like an acetate sheet, and then you move your border, right, your base around, and maybe there's just a few things that happen at the end of the game, but it's hard because it's a narrative. You have to add in leveling up, and it does mean aftercare. Yeah, why are you doing it if you guys can't get all the fancy stuff? So
yeah,
we'll see. We'll see. It's difficult.
It would definitely be interesting to see, like even if you could do, base building. Again, how do you add more without taking away, or as you said, adding homework onto it? Like that's the crux, isn't it? Because some people love that stuff though. Some people enjoy that, like Dungeons and Dragons players and all that. Like you want the XP and the changing your character and updating it. So yeah, it's a bit of a tricky one. Maybe we'll keep thinking on it. Maybe we'll come up with something.
So this is we got some tech diffs now. So Reese is I can't hear anything Reese is saying. So I'm going to imagine he says, Russ, I like your jumper. Where did you get it from? I'm going to say this jumper right here. I don't know. But it's a nice forest green. I appreciate the compliment. And I imagine he'd probably say something like, what did you do when you were in Edinburgh, Russ? Tell us about that. And I would be, I did a lot of stuff, went to the castle. We went to Camera Obscura, lots of things. And then he'd probably ask me some Kill Team related questions as well. He'd say something like, this is probably the end of the show, so I'm probably not going to get into TAC Ops now. But I have turned it off. I did do the turn it off and on. But it didn't. Are you speaking?
No, not now. I am now.
Oh, I can hear you now.
Oh,
I turned it off and on. Yeah. I turned it back on now.
You're back. Welcome back. I was thinking, while we had that moment of talking about your jumper, I did think of a thing that would be cool, and I think Laps just touched on the chat there too. Even if it is each mission only has a small thing added, so it might be like there's a random NPC monster which uses the
classic
rules,
monster thing, yeah.
Or there's a fog of war, which means that you can't shoot further than both teams can't shoot further than 12 inches regardless of rules, or but like it's only one, a bit like how in 40k they've got like the prior nexus cards and you randomly draw them and they'll add something.
Twist of fate kind of thing.
Yeah.
The old twist of war.
It'll add something nice without breaking the game or being an oppressively hard rule to have to implement. Yeah. Even just that little tweak could be.
That's rough. Cool. So you would have to pick a team. No, sorry, you have to pick such broad rules that because imagine if you pick that rule where you can't shoot more than 12 inches on a team that only had pistols, and it would just be like, well, to hell with you. So I have no range. Thank you very much, and it only benefits them. So that's you've got to, yeah. So it's
not balanced.
I like it. It's not balanced, but I like it. But then I almost, I do kind of think that maybe Kill Team is too competitive now. Not too competitive, but like the Kill Team I got into ages ago kind of was more narrative. Yeah. I play more competitively now anyway, so it's fine. But I think maybe if I didn't get into Kill Team, I probably wouldn't be playing as competitively as I am, because it's a very competitive game. I think it is built that way. Yeah, I think it's much more competitive
now.
Yeah. Do we need to change the pod?
Kill Team's
competitive. Kill Team's not casual. And that's the name of the pod.
Formerly known as Kill Team Casuals.
Yeah. Got all the merch done.
Well, look, we'll fix that next week. That can be the thing.
That's next week's problem.
Next week, we'll get Ben on, and we'll get the triumvirate onto it. We'll put the brain caps on.
I would like us to try narrative. And I know we got a lot of stuff on anyway, but a narrative guide would be quite fun.
Do you know
Maybe
what?
We can get together with the guys from Just Another.
Once Upon a Kill Team.
Once upon, I always call it Quake because I always see the O as a Q, and I like the game Quake. But it's Once Upon a Kill Team, so it's Quake, isn't it? Yeah, we get Sean and Jason in on it.
Yeah, I reckon they'd be keen.
They've probably already done it. I feel bad. They've probably already done it.
Yeah, maybe they'll be like, guys, we did that in the last 3 editions.
Months ago. Yeah. They did it well as well. It's like, damn.
Yeah. I also think maybe, do you know what it would be good in? And this is, I always say this because we always joke about playing Tabletop Simulator and we never do. But you could actually, maybe if you're tracking it more digitally, like a video game, like you've got your campaign, you've got a visual little, like maybe that makes it easier, less paperwork, literally.
Yeah, it would be good if they could add that to the app. Like the quote unquote My Team app, and you can build it into the app, so then it just load it up on the app and be like, well, this guy hits on 2s because
that's it. So now it's in there. You don't have to go, okay, so this is this guy. Oh yeah, he's got these upgrades. It's just there. The rules they've been updated. That character now does that.
Yeah. Trevor hits on a 2.
Good old Trev.
Good old Trev. Eagle Eye Trev, they called him.
Eagle Eye Trev.
Yeah.
Known around the
every year he goes back to one of the central planets on Cadia and gets his eyes sucked out.
Not Canada, if you're wondering. Cadia.
Not Canada. Actually, maybe Canada. Isn't Cadia dead? I don't want to talk about it. Cadia's been destroyed, so yeah. Oh, maybe they're warp eyes. He goes back to the warp storm and gets warp eyes.
Old warp.
He doesn't even see far. He sees transdimensionally. That's how far he sees. Into the past.
Depth perception.
He's like 20 minutes ago.
Tripping over stuff all the time.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he hasn't read a book in years.
Keeps burning holes in
that. He's just like, what is going on? He's like, in 2 minutes, he's going to be standing over there, bang. But he cannot read the cooking instructions on a pot noodle.
There you go. Look, I think that is on. We'll end on Warp Eyes. I think that's a fantastic spot.
Warp Eyes. Burning like
out
fire
this summer.
Got its own song.
We'll write that too over the break. Awesome.
I'm tired. I'm so tired. You can tell, can't you?
Oh, you've hit them. You've got the Maddies. You've got like the late night Maddies.
I wanted to have been in bed about an hour ago, really.
Put you out of your misery. And the worst thing was we could have actually gone earlier because we went the Ben time zone, but we could have gone earlier.
Absolute a-hole.
Jeez, Ben. All right.
What a goddamn rude that man is.
Thank you to the chat. Love having everyone joining us in the chat there, talking nonsense and supporting us and also plugging our knowledge gaps when we don't know things. Sometimes, guys, you save us from ourselves, and we really appreciate that. So also big thank you if you're listening on the podcast. So I was multitasking and it was a terrible idea. I was just going to bring up the link to the t-shirts. If of course the Cheese Chaser t-shirt, which I was wearing last week, Russ, you missed it. You didn't get to see it live.
Were you wearing the t-shirt? I need to get a t-shirt.
I know. I was wearing it live last week. So if you're in the chat, I'm going to share the link with you guys. If you're listening on the podcast, you guys can check them out on the Casual Wargamers YouTube channel. There is a shop there. You can see there's the Cheese Chasers.
Have you updated the channel?
I've updated the channel. Yeah. So if you go there, there's a shop attached to it. Oh, okay. This is terrible, Russ. You're out. We're going to get you some new headphones. All right. That's it. I'm going to start waving and guess Russ is going to hopefully start waving. Yeah.
They're waving. Oh, I can hear you now. You now. Hey-o.
A huge thank you to Russ, the non-hearing. Warp Ears Russ from GFN Gaming.
Chaka. Thank you very much. It's great to be back. I'm very tired. But it's great to be back. Thanks very much, Reese. Thank you, chat.
07's chat.
07's in the chat.
Russ,
thanks to all.
Warp Ears are slowed right down here. We're going to put him out of his misery.
My eyes are so red. I have been yawning so hard. You know what I just got recently? I got an absolute fucking legendary purchase. I felt very un-northern, but I recently got a heated blanket, which I've never had before in my life. Because I thought you were meant to be cold until you just got used to it. But
I thought that was the English motto:
changed.
cold and miserable at all times. It was.
Yeah. That's what I've never had one before. But times change. Some new people have into my life and they've introduced me to the benefits of a heated blanket. I'm telling you what, they are something special. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to turn on the heated blanket now. remotely from my phone and get ready to absolutely slip into the warm bath that is my bed, I'm going to say this is not relevant at all to a chat. I'm just going to say thanks very much. Back to you, Reese, pal.
Look, I love a bit of unnecessary waffle, and I appreciate that. And I'm happy that you and your warm bed are happy. So that's fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
We'll see you next week on the Guilty Casuals. Oh, yeah.
Ciao.